No direction, no purpose, and a loser. That's how I felt growing up for a majority of my life, especially in my early 20s. Fast forward, a few years later, I stuck by these 10 principles that allowed me to go from being a community college dropout to a multi-millionaire within the course of a few short years. Now, this video here took me quite a bit of time to put together because it's one of those topics that I'm so very passionate about, where I had to force myself to condense years of wisdom all into a short enough YouTube video just for you. So here's the agreement, guys. Give me about 20 of your minutes and I'll give you the most important lessons of the last 5 years of mine to help you become even more successful and possibly even a few millionaires just like myself. Starting out with lesson number 1, be intentional about who you surround yourself with. The day when I have kids, if there's one thing that I would like for my kid to do is to have a good circle of friends. This is because who you surround yourself with will positively or negatively impact the way you think, the way you behave, and the way you do. Think about it like this. You're at a crossroads right now. You have a group of friends who all they do is gossip. They don't have much going for them. All they do is go out, drink on the weekends, and frankly put, they just don't exemplify a life that you see yourself living. On the other hand of that, you have a group of friends. They're on their goals. They're constantly lifting each other up. You feel the positivity. And the way that I can really gauge how I feel about certain people is feeling out my own energy. Do certain people that you hang out with tend to drain you after you hang out with them, or do they leave you more energized, happy, smiling, laughing? I really believe that there are a few conditional choices that we can make in this life that affect who we end up being, and choosing who you surround yourself with is one of the main things you can start today. So to do this, prioritize establishing those boundaries. Say no to going out if it doesn't line up with your own interests, and make sure that you cultivate good, healthy relationships between people that you look up to. For me, I've had to say no to a lot of people that I grew up with because I realized that over time, the gap just continued to increase. And there are even moments now where I hang out with certain groups of people and I just feel completely at a loss of energy because I realize that they're just negative people. Now, the second lesson that I wish I learned was to live with more purpose and to embrace a philosophy called learn to die with zero. Now, I know that sounds a little bit grim, but basically the principle of this is to learn to spend your money, use it as a tool on experiences and connecting with others instead of just hoarding it all up and constantly saving. For me, especially in my early 20s, because I didn't grow up with much money, I was constantly worried about it. This meant that anytime I was going out, eating dinner, even just going on a random experience, I would constantly think just about how much money it costs, and I wouldn't find myself in the present moment of it. Look, even if you didn't come from a family that might be struggling financially, I know there are still a lot of people that end up thinking more about money rather than just enjoying the moment. This principle where you learn to die with zero is the concept where by the time you die, you absolutely have nothing that you're going to the grave with. Remember this, financial abundance that you have at the end of your life ends up having no value at all. For me, I would love to set up my future kids with a level of security that they don't have to worry like I did growing up, but at the same time, I would never ever want my kids to have a sort of like trust fund baby type feel and think they don't have to work for anything either. Regardless of whatever your own principles are or philosophy on this, for yourself in this moment, just realize chances are you're probably gonna make more money than you will need in this lifetime. So what I wish I did in my 20s was to not think money was so scarce and to realize that I have my whole life ahead of me in order to continue making money and to really just enjoy the moment first. Now, my third biggest lesson is more on the spiritual side, but I personally wish that earlier on in my 20s that I prioritized God in my relationships first. So looking back, the version of myself where I was most aligned with God is really the best version of myself. I've realized that there is no amount of money, no relationship, no fancy house or car that would ever fill the gap that I still see so many people chasing. Now, in my early 20s, my priorities at that time was like going to the gym. That was my idol. And it was really just pursuing business to the fullest extent. That is something I worship, that I wanted to be the best at, that I continue to think about time in and time out. If we look at it in the lens of success for this world, yeah, I was able to find success. Yeah, I was able to make a decent amount of money, but was I truly happy back then? I think I still could have done all those same things even if I had prioritized God in my relationship, yet I wouldn't have felt so stressed. I would have been more present, and I wouldn't have felt like I was constantly chasing after something that was always within my grasp. Looking outside in, you'll assume that the people you deem most successful are the happiest people ever, and you're constantly in this state of comparison, but you may not realize until later on in the years that the people I see most successful are oftentimes the most emptiest. At the end of the day, focusing on internal growth and faith is something that I wish I started earlier because it provides a foundation that material wealth could never replace. I also feel like I would have saved myself from a lot more mistakes. I would have been a lot more wise during those years, but I am in the position I am today for all the mistakes and all the decisions that I made before. The fourth key lesson here is to be more patient and intentional with every moment. For me, right now, it seems like the last few years went by in the snap of my finger. It literally feels like I graduated from high school just a few months ago, but already your boy is turning 27 soon. I'm like 3 years away from 30. Where did the time go? I started YouTube when I was 22 years old, and if there's one thing that I wish I did, it was to practice more intentionality and to be patient in the things that were happening. I remember most of the day I was thinking about the future that I forgot what was happening in the present. Examples of this was like, I'm only going to be happy when I hit 1 million subscribers. I'm only going to be happy when I get a Lamborghini. I'm only going to be happy when I have $1 million in my bank account. The truth of the matter is, you can be happy in whatever moment you're in right now, but you can also use all those things as motivation. There's nothing wrong with wanting these certain things, but it depends just on what your priorities lie in. To have goals outside of helping people, leaving an impact, and inspiring others, I don't think there's anything truly wrong with that, but if I could start things over, I wish that I took the time to be more patient, and to do this, it's being intentional, it's to journal, it's to self-reflect, and then from there, it's to move in a pace where I didn't feel like I was constantly playing catch up. That moves into my fifth point, which is moving in abundance instead. So I grew up with the mindset of scarcity, and even now, at the current stage I'm in, I still have flips of where I feel like I don't have enough of certain things. Upon doing some more reflection, I realized that all this takes is just a small mindset shift where nothing in my personnel has actually changed. I have the same amount of assets, I have the same amount of resources and relationships, but it's just a matter of how I see things. I can look in one angle and be like, all right, man, there are YouTubers like Mr. Beast that have 100 million plus subscribers and all these other businesses, but then I can look at the other lens and be like, I'm good. I got a team here. I have a YouTube channel that we built over the past few years, and I got a lot more than I could ever need. My health, my family, the relationships, my friends. I think scarcity can be one of those things where it really consumes someone. And once you start thinking in the act of, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough friends, and I don't have enough whatever this, you start spiraling down. I noticed that I used to do that a lot growing up because I just didn't have the awareness that I do now about it. But at any time where now I feel more rushed, or I'm limited, or I don't have enough of something, I try to flip that switch off, and I try to look into a lens of where I recognize that this world is vast with opportunities and that there is an abundance of everything that we ever need. Look, unless you're coming from a dirt poor third world country, chances are you have food, you have a home, you have a roof over your head, and at times that's more than what we need. Now, the sixth key point that I wish I did much earlier on is to prioritize eating healthy and to actually do something called fasting more. Now, look, I have been someone who constantly prioritized going to the gym. And if you go to the gym, you know how important nutrition was. But during those times, I just wanted to get in as many calories as possible to make sure that I never was protein deficient. In this new chapter of my life, I realized the importance of not just getting protein, but getting a diversity of food, but eating clean as well. Now, I was able to make this transition a lot easier when I learned how to cook and how simple things are. So learn how to cook, learn how to take care of your body, stop eating so much junk food, because what you eat, what you consume truly affects how you feel. And it's hard to do any of the things that I mentioned in this video when you're constantly feeling like you got brain fog and you have no energy to actually do anything. I mentioned earlier about fasting more. This is something that I've been implementing more in this season as well, because even before this current fast, where now sometimes I go a day without eating because I'm working, I feel a lot more clear-headed, I feel a lot more healthy. I was just so focused on getting 200 grams of protein a day. That meant as soon as I woke up, I would be eating. I would have to eat every 3 hours after that. And it's a lot of work when you're worried about eating, then the process of eating, and then doing the dishes after. And if you're not even doing that, you're ordering food and then cleaning up after. It just takes up a lot of time in the day. So this single-handedly has added me more hours. I feel a lot better. I feel quick, healthy, and not so slow, sluggish, and feeling like I need to take a nap every part of the day. The most important thing is listen to your body, because I was eating so much where I was not even eating when I was hungry. I would just eat because I was like, all right, I need to get the protein in. But sometimes that saying where less is more is so truly applicable. It all comes down to the act of surrendering, and it's also bringing down your pride, because I struggled a lot with this, where I was so prideful in just, my health and my physique, and being someone who was able to balance always going to the gym, but yet still having a work ethic that I thought was put on this pedestal, and it's something I valued a lot. But I realized, just surrender. There are times in life where it's okay to not be the best at certain things, but as long as you have your own balance and you're happy within, I feel like right there, that can save you a ton of stress, especially in your 20s. Number 7, the importance of reflection. We are right now living through a time where we have more information than we can consume. Think about it. With TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everyone and their family starting a podcast, and everyone coming out with their own book, there is too much information right now, and oftentimes we look towards all these external sources that we never take a look inside of what's going on to get the most data and the most lessons learned. Reflection is the biggest part, and it's something I wish I did even more than I did a few years ago. But luckily enough, I started journaling about 4 to 5 years ago, and this is where I learned more about myself than I believe any therapist or any shrink could ever come into your life and do. Journaling is what I believe is a direct path to self-discovery. By documenting your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences, you can provide more clarity and guide future decisions. And if you're ever feeling anxious or worried or just stressed for life, sometimes all it takes is for you to just type up digitally, like I put it in my Apple Notes or my Notion, or I'll get a piece of pen and paper and write down the things that are bothering me. And even just from those acts alone, I realize how quickly things aren't really an issue that our minds make things up to be. So to reflect more, journal more, sit in quiet, maybe for 10, 20 minutes, put your phone aside, and don't constantly be overwhelmed by all this information at all times. The 8th biggest key here that I've learned is to build with intent. Now, this really starts when you find out your purpose and what you actually like doing, and something that energizes you or drives you. For me personally, that something has been doing YouTube. It's creating content, it's helping people, it's inspiring others. And for me, it's also to build a team. It's being able to take care of people that I love. And it took me a while to figure this out, because in the beginning, my whole intention behind what I was building through my businesses was simply for a monetary purpose. It was to provide security for myself, my parents, my family, and my loved ones. After you do the whole thing with your reflection and you're able to find out your purpose and what you're built for, then you can set goals to continuously strive for growth. Through this, I believe if you live your life with more purpose, you're going to eventually find more happiness too in what you do. Number 9, adopt a growth mindset. Look, personal transformation is a journey. It's not a destination. And this is something I wish I learned way earlier on, because I thought at a certain point, I'll have all the wisdom in the world. I'll have read all the self-improvement books. I'll read all the business books, and I'll be the best. But I've realized that you are a student your entire life, but that is where the joy comes from. We often hear the word, be a student and you think of yourself in that classroom listening to a lecture on statistics and on whatever, some boring subject you don't care about, but you realize by being a student in life is one of the best things that you can do. Be in a state where you're constantly learning from others, and don't think because you're too young or too old that you're not able to get any type of good lesson from other people. I've learned more lessons talking to people that are younger than me than even some of the older folks that I know. Now, what I've also realized over the past few years is just the toxicity of pride and ego. Look, when you're a kid, you're making money, you're growing social media followers, it's so easy to get caught up and just think, all right, I'm better than everyone. You know, I got the nicer car, this and that. Now, I've been super thankful that I've been able to learn this lesson way earlier on, and to just always keep this in the back of my mind to make sure that you don't think you're better than someone just because you make more money than them, or, you know, you're living in an apartment and they still live at home with their parents. Adopt a growth mindset where you realize you aren't the best. There are always people better than you, and you should never, ever be walking around with so much pride and ego. I see this right now in our current society with a lot of the younger kids. You know, they get a TikTok, they get Instagram, and they just think they're all that. You see the ego, and I don't blame them, because I've had to go through my own transformation where at times, every time I left my house, even like during the bull market, people would come up to me. They would want, you know, a picture or whatever and talk. And I was like, wow, you know, like, this is cool. You know, people think I'm cool, so I am cool, but it's outside of that, okay? I've realized when having a growth mindset, constantly being a student and realizing that there are always lessons you can learn from someone, and that I'm not better than someone just because of the position or role that I'm in. I believe that mindset is super important for anyone, especially in their early 20s, because you'd be surprised at how many doors that open when you have the mindset that you are not much better than other people, but you're either less or equal, not less in a bad way where you feel insecure and then you feel insecure, but less in the mindset that they have different experiences and things that you can always learn from. Now, number 10, give back to others. Something I've been doing, I've been doing this 52-week Bible reading program, okay? And I'm like halfway through it. And this past week, I had to read the book of Acts. Acts chapter 20, verse 35, part of this said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And this is something that I wanted to talk about in this video because I really feel that. In the course of my life, there are times where I've made millions of dollars. We had our best month making $500,000 in a week and thinking, wow, this is great. I've made a lot of money. But looking back, if someone asked me what was the most memorable time in my life, I have to say that it was giving back to others. It was helping out the person who needed it. It was paying off my mom's credit card debt, and really in terms of the structure of just being able to provide for others. Now, giving back isn't just in the value of giving in a monetary sense where you're paying someone money for, you know, them helping you out, but it's to give back in terms of resources and time. Looking back, if I had this mindset even earlier on where I looked at every opportunity in a way that I can give first rather than just take or, you know, see them as a client, I really believe that I could have scaled even more businesses at that point. Examples of this is our marketing agency. We actually had our first client because we worked for them for free. We work for a lot of people for free. And nowadays people are so caught up with the fact that, oh, I need to charge them like my value is $2,000 a month for this photo shoot. And if I don't get paid that, you know, they're disrespecting me. Screw that. Okay. We're living in a time right now where people want to value every single penny or whatever, give to others, not in the idea that they're going to give something back, but realize that when you do give to others, you're going to be seeing much more abundance and you're going to be getting a lot more back later on in life. And that is what I believe. Like I mentioned earlier too, giving back to others isn't just a matter of monetary dollars, but it's also a matter of principles and values. Now, those are the key lessons. And I truly believe that if you put these things into action, you're going to be able to see a much more meaningful, productive, efficient, and even happier life. Now, let me know if you guys resonated with any of those points at all, if you'd like to add on any of them, if you have any of your thoughts, or maybe if you disagree with some of the things I mentioned. We're in a free world, ladies and gents. Y'all can disagree with me as much as you want down below in the comment section. Plus, it helps the YouTube algorithm, I think, just a little bit when you engage, but that's not the point of this. I'm just kidding, or am I? Anyways, if you guys did enjoy a video like this, be sure to check out the links down below in the description. If you guys want to pick up your free stocks, I have links to Webull and Moomoo as well, in addition to a ton of other videos and a behind the scenes look at my own life on Instagram. So follow me down there as well if you haven't done so already. Thank you all so much again for watching this video. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.